Hey there, Wendy here with Jazzydoodledesigns, and today we're doing the ultra budget friendly option. I have chosen this little cutie. She's St. Patty Cutie Pies 2 Grayscale Art Coloring Book. Now this is not a coloring book, it is a PDF that you can download on Etsy. It's $4.99 and you get 62 images, and some are super cute. This was the other one I thought about doing. I might do him too, you never know. Let's see how long it takes. But anyway, I'm going to use soucolor colored pencils because they are very budget friendly. You get 180 pencils for $40 or 72 pencils for $12. That is pretty dang reasonable. So let's dive in. Now, you could use a myriad of color combinations. So if you don't have this brand of pencils, if you don't have these colors, just grab colors that are similar. Here are all the colors I used. I think I'm going to start with her skin tone. Now, I gotta tell you, I'm not super thrilled with the soucolor skin tone collection. Sorry for the glare, but I really don't want to take it out. You know, you've got a few of these peaches and pink. If we wanted to make her darker skin tone, we probably have more options, but you know, she's a fair-haired lass from Ireland, so I feel like we should probably stick with the fair skin tones. So I have chosen this one. It is Shallow Yellow. That's encouraging, isn't it? But it's the closest I felt to an actual skin tone. And I'm just going to lightly go over the entire thing. Now, I'm not going to do a lot of shading on her. She's a very whimsical girl, so I don't feel like it's, I don't know that I'd go so far as to say appropriate, but necessary maybe to do a lot of shading. I think it might look a little off given how whimsical she is. So I'm just doing a very light coat here. Get her little hands. I feel like this is kind of her shirt. I feel like she has kind of a higher shirt. Make sure to get her little ears. Okay, so next up, I am going to use Sakura, and let's just give her some little pink cheeks. I'm going to bring that pink back a little bit. The choice is up to you. You don't have to. You could just leave, you know, because she is whimsical, you could just do the circly bit. I'm going to bring a little pink into her ear. Maybe just a touch up here. And bring just a little bit of pink into her arms. Kind of acting like this is our shading color. Along her hairline. I don't normally shade with pink. But like I said, she's very whimsical. And this is kind of a yellowish color. you know, the skin tone. So I feel like this just kind of brings her to life a little bit. Get it on her nose. We're going to keep her kind of simple. I'm going to kind of blend this little pink blob out. Don't need any pink blobs. Okay. This is a very simple drawing, so I am going to be working on it with that in mind. Now with grayscale, where it's lighter indicates your lighter tones. So let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. So I am going to use this apple green to do some of this lighter green stuff. So kind of where you see the lighter areas in things that you would normally color green. I might make a little bit of bring some green into some of these leaves. Let's see, I think maybe even into her little shawl here. Let's make this green. Okay. Oh, maybe here too. Okay, so next I'm going to go in with, look at my, yeah. Okay, so this one is called Middle Yellowish Green. We're just going to start blending our little darker areas here. Kind of where the bow ties is a little darker. You can see the artist lines here. That's how you can use the grayscale to figure out and to learn shading. It's a great way to learn shading. Okay, let's bring a little bit into our hat here. You know, you could, with grayscale, once you go over it with a color, that's really all you need. You don't necessarily have to do multiple colors if you don't want to. Because you can see here, I went over both of those, and where it wasn't shaded, it's lighter, and where it's darker, the gray automatically made it darker. Now, I will say this. This is Vellum Bristol, just Spring Hill Distal Vellum Bristol. Say that 5 times fast, shall we? I like this paper, but it is a little toothier, so you can kind of see the grain a little bit here. So this one is light olive. It's definitely a darker green. We can go over some of these darker areas. I am not pressing hard. Now these pencils are really nice. I actually like soucolor pencils on most paper. Not all, but most. I do feel like it does a little bit better on this toothier type of paper. But you can see it really holds a nice point. Give our leaves a little bit of a look here. Here I'm going to be much more selective about where I put it, just only in these very dark areas. But you can see how that really kind of makes a difference. Now I'm going to go back in with my lightest tone again. This was apple green. And just kind of smooth and blend everything out. Because it is a little toothier paper, you will get a little bit of crumbs. I don't find these to be very crummy in general, but the toothier the paper, the more likelihood of crumbs. I am pressing a little bit harder, but not bearing down like a crazy person. I'm sure that was helpful in terms of technologically. I don't know, maybe if I normally color at a 2-ish, this was probably like 4, maybe a 5. I forgot our little shawl here. I'll have to go in and okay, I'm going to go in with my darkest green here and just right along the very edge of that shawl. I want to add a little bit of color. Maybe up here where her hair and head would have cast a little bit of a shadow, but not much. And then go in with middle yellowish green. Blend that out a little bit. And then back in with apple green to do our final blending here. Okay. I will definitely put some green in her skirt as well. Let's do her hair next. So I picked out 4 colors for her hair. Pull them out here. So, all right, so the lightest color is going to be shallow yellow, pumpkin yellow for the main color, ochre and pumpkin will make up the main color, and then brick dust for the recesses. Now, one of the things that I think sometimes people do is worry too much about, I'm not saying worry too much, but they're afraid to sharpen their pencils because they feel like they're wasting their pencils. Look how sharp I got these. Can you tell? They're very sharp. But when I'm going to do hair, it makes all the difference in the world. So hair you want to turn to where, like if I'm working on this piece, I personally like to turn my hair to where I'm flicking in the direction of the hair. I like to work from dark to light. So I'm going to go in with my darkest tone. Now the one thing I will tell you about these soucolor pencils, I need to retape them. I used regular tape. You have to use the super hold tape. But the barrels are terrible and the names are terrible. So they will have things like this is called ochre. To me, this is not an ochre color. To me, this is like a burnt sienna or something. Ochre to me is more yellowish. Something more like this. Right? Is my lighting good? There we go. So be careful with them because the soucolors will trick you with their names and their barrels don't always match the tips. But they're cheap pencils, so, you know, what can you expect? Now what I'm doing here is I'm going to apply pressure and then lighten up as I go, like this. See how this part here is so much lighter than this one? So all of my little flicks are going to be in the direction of the hair. Now what I don't want to do is this. See how that looks like rose? Like we don't want to make rose. Hair's its own thing, right? So we want our little hairs to flick off in different directions. We want some to be longer. We want random stray hairs. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go down. Now, with these darker tones, you're not, and this small image, we're not going to get a lot of that, right? I mean, we can only do so much here in this small area. But the idea is that they're random. Now, you can flick whatever, if you find it easier to flick to you like this, that's fine. I personally don't. I find it easier to flick away from myself. So I go in and I do all of these bottom ones, right, with my darkest tone. See, and I got a real long one. That's okay. But we're going to go in and just keep, we're using our artist lines with grayscale. That is a huge benefit. You can see where these darker ones are. This is where I'm putting my darker color. Now back behind the ear is a little darker, so I can go up a little higher if I want. This is kind of an interesting area. I'll try and make sure I stay at camera. Then I flick my image over, and now I'm going to go the opposite direction. So each little bundle is getting some dark right here at the edge of the bundle and along the sides. Now ultimately you decide your colors and how far you want your dark to go. I start with my dark pretty just in the deepest parts, because I don't want this to be the overall color of her hair. And on the top here, I don't have nearly as much. So just a few little flicks here. With this tone. And I'm just going to work on this braid here to begin with. Now these hairs down here maybe have some darker hairs kind of going all the way down right into the area. Now I'm going to go in with my next darkest tone, which is Brick Dust. And doing the exact same thing, going over the lines that I already did. Not maybe all of them, because then you have some variation. Hair has a lot of variation in it. We got this little one flicking off. So whichever way you want to flick, here I'm flicking towards me. Here I'm flicking away from me. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. Now these little hairs I might do with a different color. I'm going to do some with this color, and then others with probably my lighter tone. Don't be afraid to turn your page. Normally I don't like to turn my pages for you guys. I think it's a little disorienting as a viewer, but I want you to see what to do here. Okay, next we're going to go in with Pumpkin Yellow. So doing the same thing, starting way here in the back and going over some of those other lines, but not all. We're just flicking, making these random stray hairs, right? Because our hair kind of frays out a little bit. Now ultimately you're going to decide how much of this color you want compared to your last color. Do you want a lot of highlight? Because the last color should kind of be the highlight. Now you can always go in like with a Posca or something like that and create your highlight as well. But I personally find it easier to leave a little bit of a highlight right here myself. Okay, next we're going to go in with Shallow Yellow. Now, if I'm going to go in and put a white highlight in, that will make the hair look very shiny. The more contrast you have, the more shiny it'll look. So see how I'm leaving that little bit there? It's harder to tell with grayscale than if you're doing this not grayscale, because the grayscale has some gray there. But I am leaving a little bit there. Now I think what I'm going to do is create my ultimate highlight with my Posca. So I'm going to go ahead and cover those. Now these little earrings, I'm trying not to color them, but I'm not super concerned because I'm going to add those with like a silver or gold gel pen. Something metallic and shimmery. It might be green even. You know, it is St. Patrick's Day and all. Okay, so now I'm going to take a look and I'm going to say, where do I need some more contrast? I want these to be darker, so I'm going to go in with Bistra, which is a very dark brown gray. And I'm just going to go in to these just where the darkest parts of the braid would be. Now I'm not doing a lot of flicking. This is mainly the shadows here. I mean, I am flicking, but I'm not flicking way like deep into the hair. Keeping my flicks pretty small is what I'm saying. But you can see how that really creates a little bit of depth there. Okay, and up here, where it's under those flowers, you want to shadow that. Okay, now I'm going to just repeat my process. I'm going to go in with my darkest, so that ochre. Don't be afraid to flip. Especially if this is your first, or, you know, if you're fairly new at flicking. I've been flicking for a while. Because in Copics you do a lot of flicking. So I'm fairly good at flicking both directions, though my preference is to flick away from me. But for the sake of the video, I am flicking both ways. I'm an equal opportunity flicker. But that flick is very important because without it, your lines look like this. Do you see how this looks like hair and this looks like a row of bricks or something? Okay, Next up is our pumpkin yellow. You can do this with 5 colors. You can do it with 3. Probably do it with 2. Wouldn't look as good. The variance makes a big difference. On a very small piece like this, it would be hard to do 5 colors, I think, because you just don't have the real estate. But if you were on, if this was an 8 by 10, be careful you don't get little, I kind of smudged her face. We might have to give her freckles. So on this toothier paper where we get some crumbs, should probably have our floofer. I don't even know where my floofer is. For those of you who are like, what the heck is a floofer? This is what it is. And I just use it. It's just an old makeup brush that I found somewhere. I don't know where. And it's really good for getting those little crumbs so that I don't smear them. You can see how the second coat really made a difference. Okay, last up is our shallow yellow. Ideally, you want this little highlight to just be a little band in a row, so that you get, if you want it shiny. Not super concerned about shiny. And then you just keep doing this until you get it the way you want it. I'm just adding little bits and bobs where I feel like it needs it. This is not the darkest color. Well, this is the darkest red color. It's not that bistre. It's not that deep brown. And then let's go in with our pumpkin orange. You can see as I add these, now this lighter area looks lighter and you get a little bit more of that highlight look. Okay. And I'm just going to continue working the page, doing the hair just like this. I'm going to turn it upside down. I'm going to go in So I'll probably speed this up, set it to music, and then I'll be back with you. Okay, so let's give her some eyebrows, shall we? I am thinking we're gonna start with ochre. No, let's start with brick dust. So this is not the darkest of the red, this is this color. And we're gonna do baby little flicks. Okay, now I'm gonna take that darker color and just do a few little flicks on the bottom. And then just a little bit of that pumpkin. Okay. I feel like she needs a little shading on her brow. But what color? Let's go in with that pink. Okay. And maybe she needs a little bit of a mouth. All right. So next up, I'm going to go in with that bistre. We're going to do this little belt here. Just doing kind of a base coat and letting the grayscale work for me. Bearing down just a little bit here to get rid of that tooth. Now if you're using a smoother paper, you might not have to do that. Now I think I'm going to use like a gold pen or something for the buckle and her earrings and stuff. Let's kind of work on like her little sweater here. Let's go in. You know, I take this back. I feel like looking at it now, we're going to go in with that flesh tone. Let's do this little piece here. And then maybe just a little bit of that bistre. Ever so lightly to add our shadow. And then blending it out with the pink. Because we want this a little darker than her face, right? I'm not thrilled with that, but I'm not too unhappy with it. This is called chocolate. Use just a touch of that. And then back in with that shallow yellow. And maybe just to unify it a little bit, but just a touch of that chocolate here where there'd be a little shadow on our hands. Now I may have to go back in and do a little bit more work with her face. She may look a little, I don't know. I've gotten a little dark here. Let's go in with my white. Lighten this up a little. That helped. The white in this is pretty good. Okay. All right, I can live with that now. Floof it away. Okay, let's go back in. We're gonna use light coral. Okay, we're gonna use light coral here on our sweater. Here on the lighter parts of her sweater. And then we're going to go in with our pumpkin yellow and go into the darker areas. Do these little lines. It's kind of a striped shirt. Okay, and then back in with that light coral. And I want to blend with my stripes so I don't lose all of that striped look, but we do want to get rid of all the gray. Now we might want to go in with this brick dust and just get in the deepest regions. Do just a little shading with it. Okay, so let's work on our skirt. Now, it's obviously a plaid, so now for simplicity, I might do just an all green plaid. So I'm going to keep these whites, but otherwise I think I'm going to go over everything with this apple green. This is the lightest green that I used. In the hat and stuff. Now, soucolor are softer pencils. I personally really like working with them. But if you're a polychromos girl, you might not, because they are a little on the softer side. You can see that the point doesn't go away like terribly, but it definitely goes away faster than something like a polychromos. It's not quite as squishy as a Prisma. You know, let's face it, there's nothing like Prisma. I've heard people say Arctics are like Prismas. I have Arctics, and while I don't know, Arctics aren't my favorite pencil. I need to play with them more. Maybe I'm Maybe I had a couple of bad sessions with them. They're not bad. So please don't come at me in the comments. I just don't like them as much as some people do. And I certainly don't think that they're like Prismacolor. They're a buttery pencil. They lay down smooth. They're reasonably priced. I mean, they're a good pencil. But I don't think anything, personally, is like Prismacolor. But look how nice this is, just laying down one color. You get a lot of variation. But I'm not really happy with that, so I'm going to go in, or I'm not satisfied, I should say. I want to keep going. I'm going to go in with a much darker, let's see what, is that this one? Olive? Okay, I'm going to go in with Olive, and where the artist has drawn the darker lines, I am going to use this darker color. I'm going to do some darker up here. Okay. Do we want to try and bring in some orange? Maybe the darker orange too? Okay. And then let's go in with light olive. So where this dips, see how this kind of dips? Putting a little bit of the darker green. Dips here. Blending it out. A little bit here. A little bit here. Definitely some up here. This should be part of her sweater. Okay. So now, what are we going to do with this? Now, soucolor doesn't have cream. They don't have a nice cream. So one thing I could do is I could go in with my white and go over all of this lace and then go in with like a brown to shade it. I could make it orange. What color should we do her socks? Let's do her shoes. Let's go with what we know. Okay, so this is the bistre color. I'm going to go in where the boots are darkest. Do a little shading here, and then we'll go over it with that chocolate that we used on the headband. Okay, a little bit here. Okay, so here's our chocolate. I'm just going to go over the entire boot. And chocolate. Now be careful that you don't go over your laces. I wouldn't go over your laces. Leave a little highlight on that boot. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with ginger yellow, go over this entire boot. It's hard working on these little images. I wish they were bigger. Well, I guess I could make them bigger, so that's kind of dumb to say that on my part. I should have printed them at like an 8 by 10. Definitely would have been easier to work with. But I hadn't decided if I wanted to do the little dog one or what. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with my chocolate. Give it a good sharpen. get rid of all the little white spots. Some colors definitely get more crumbs than others. Okay, so what color should we do her little socks? I am thinking maybe this orange. So let's go in with our pumpkin yellow. Make sure I'm in camera. And we'll make them orange and white. Now, if you want them really reflective, maybe leave this piece right here and go over it with that lighter yellow or that lighter orange. I'll show you what that looks like there on that one. Okay. And then with that light coral, I'm going to blend that out. I'm pressing down probably like a 4 or 5. Okay, now where it was really dark, I'm going to go in with this number 13. Just darken it up. Where it's shaded from her little skirt. And on the edges here, just a touch. Now by laying down my lighter colors first, I keep it light, right? Had I put those darker colors down first, they would be darker. And while that seems obvious, what I'm saying is if I go in and I put this color down first, and then I go over it with this color, that's that color. But watch if I put this color down first and go with this color, even if I go over it quite a bit, you can see the light pipes through, whereas here it reads more dark. So just know that that is a thing. Just adding a little bit more of that orange. Okay, so for this, I think what I'm going to do is go in and cover all of it with white. Even the gray, although much less on the gray part. I am covering it, but just a real light layer, and I'm kind of burnishing down a little bit. Now I could leave it white. Let's, using our chocolate, let's go in, just add a little tiny bit in these shadowy areas. I'm just not really digging the gray shadows. I want them to be more brown shadows. And then going back in with my white, and we'll blend that out a little bit. Soften it up. I hate sets that don't have like a light tan or a cream color, because I really like that color in coloring. It's kind of a pain to have to make your own. And you got to be careful, because whatever the undertone of the color is when you use white will definitely pop out, and it's a lot of browns will turn very yellow on you. And I didn't want yellow. Now this did pretty well. Okay. Alright, so now we are to our flowers. Oh, I guess maybe I'm going to do the same thing on her shoelaces. On those little buckles, I'm gonna use oh gosh, you know, whatever gold or silver I use in the hat. We can maybe use some Posca pen too. We'll see. Okay, so for our flowers, I think maybe bring in some of that pink that we used for some of these smaller flowers. And then the sakura, just to blend it out. We can use Posca to like bring some attention to our flowers in a different way. So sakura again. That was peach puff. I don't know what's peach about that hot pink I just used, but they call it peach puff. Okay, people. I think it'd be nice to use that light coral on one of them. The lightest part in her hair, that color. That's kind of pretty. And we'll use white to blend that out. Maybe this one will just stay white. Okay. We're going to bring in that olive, that darker. And then white olive. Do a little of that. Okay, and then let's go in with the middle yellowish green and we'll add some green here. Kind of blend out some of that darker green that we used. I'm not sure if that's like a leaf there. Okay, we'll color that green. I don't know if that's leaves or not. Okay. And then okay, I'm going to introduce two new colors. I'm going to use light sea green and aqua green. Just because I felt like we needed maybe one more color. So this is the lighter of the two. Just for some visual interest. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to use my white. Blend it out a little. Do this little flower, kind of tuck back there. And we might have to, maybe just a little yellow. Color yellow. I think we better go with an orange yellow. So we have autumn gold. I'm just gonna do the center of these flowers, whatever this thing is. Maybe just a touch here. I think this is that flower maybe. Okay. Just like we did the shading down here, I'm going to shade just ever so slightly there, just to bring out the flower a little bit on several of these. I just feel like this kind of just brings a little life to the flower. Just a little shading as such. Maybe even into some of these leaves. You want to have your pencil sharp and twist your little barrel to get the sharpest piece. But see how that kind of brings those flowers to life a little? Okay. Alright, just a touch more green here. So at this point, we're nearing done. What color should we do our feather? Thinking yellow, teal, yellow. No, I think teal, because we're going to have gold here. So like we did the hair, we're just going to flick out. Okay, and we're going to go in with our darker. And do a little flicks. And then I'm going to sharpen my white. And then we want to add some white. Okay, I am going to use Super Golden markers by this brand. And I am going to use this one. I don't think they have numbers or anything, but it's pretty obvious. There's only 12 colors. And I'm going to use this gold color. And we're going to color our gold buckle. And I think I want gold little eyelets. Let's give her some little gold earrings. I might have to color around the ears just a little bit. Let's see how shiny that is. Get it in the light. Now we want to let that dry. I want to take my, like a black marker while that's drying. You want to be careful. Once again, we want to flick up. I'm just touching up those areas. With the chocolate, and go in and just give her ears just ever so slightly some definition. Shade her face just a touch. Okay. Then we can go in. Let's see if I can get my Sakura jelly roll to work. When these pens work, they're amazing. They don't usually work for me. Poscas usually work pretty well. feel like I need some white over here, so I'm gonna, oh, just add a few things. Maybe add a little highlight here. So this is cream. And I'm going to go over this again with colored pencil once it is completely dry. If you try and go over it when it's wet, you can tear your paper, so be careful. this is going to give it just a little bit of highlight when I go over it with the pencil. Okay, so once that is completely dry, I'm going to take my lightest color and see how it goes over it, and yet you still get the vibrancy of that light. See, it makes it pop out a little bit. And you can leave it bright if you like it. I just think it adds a little bit. I'm not liking her shoelaces, so let's see if I can figure out. Let's do that. Let me get in here and clean this up a little bit. Want to wait for that to completely dry before we mess with it. Not really liking her earrings either. I mean, they're great if you tilt them. Did I just smear that? I might have. Kind of like this gold. Okay, let's go over our shoelaces with that chocolate. See how it just knocks back that color a little bit? Now they're still a little bright, so I'm going to go in with that Bistra. See if... And you got to be careful, it's a very light coat. If you go over it heavy, you'll scratch the Posca off. Now the last thing I want to do is give her a touch of a background. Since we're doing this budget friendly, by the way, this was a Link Shine. Any gold pen will work. You just got to find ones you like. These are Link Shine. It was a package of 10 pens. They were pretty reasonable. Let me look. Okay, these were $4 for 10 pens. Now, I've got a few extra pens in there, but these Link Shine ones, like I just showed you, like they're great. See, this is a Link Shine. Here's an orange. But for $4, you get a black, a dark blue, a light blue, a teal, a gold, an orange, a red, a pink, a purple, and a silver. So, I don't know. I mean, I haven't had them a ridiculous amount of time. So I got some spots on her face, so I think what I'm going to do is go in with that chocolate color. Here we go. It's missing. Here it is. Make sure it's sharpened, and let's just give her a few freckles. Now you can just put them on her nose. You can put them all over her face. I just want to detract from, I don't know if, where's my eraser? Let's see if we can. Oh, nice. Okay, that kind of helped. So now I gave her freckles for nothing. No, she needs freckles. Darken up her cheeks a little. I think I smear them a little when I'm over. And then going in with her skin tone, let's kind of cover that up a little. Now be careful going over your freckles if you do this, because you could smear them. We wouldn't want smeared freckles. And then this is that Sakura. I'm just gonna just blend a little bit. Just put a little pink in her skin. Okay, so, should we give her a background? Okay, so I trimmed the edges and got off all of our little muck around the edges where I was showing you guys stuff. But I think she turned out adorable. And I hope you guys have a fantastic St. Patrick's Day. Thank you for watching another video from Jazzydoodledesigns. If you enjoy adult coloring content, please consider subscribing. You can now find me on Instagram and Facebook as well. I welcome all comments and suggestions. Don't forget to like the video before you go. And until next time, take care.